Hey guys, we're going to look at the next topic with our radicals unit, and it's going to be adding and subtracting. So last class we focused on the whole simplifying a radical. Today we're going to learn the adding and subtracting piece. Now your steps for doing this. So your first step is going to be to simplify your radical if you have to. It won't happen all the time. After you've simplified your radical, you're going to only combine like radicals, okay? And then your final step is then you would completely simplify, which is then you're kind of just combine your like terms. Okay, so we'll run through a couple examples. If you need to, pause the video, write these down. You can do them together as we go through them. All right, so in this first example, I'm going to look and say, okay, can I simplify my radicals? I have radical 2 and a radical 2. They're already pretty simplified, and the good thing is they're the exact same. The only tricky part you have to watch out for is the coefficient in the front. So right now, there's an imaginary 1 in the front. So when we combine, I'm going to look at and say, okay, 1 minus 4 gets me a negative 3. And then you only combine your radicals if they're the same. You can kind of treat them like a variable and say, okay, when you're adding them, you just bring over your radicals. So your final answer is negative 3 radical 2. If I look at this next example, I have negative 1 minus a negative 1. So when I look at that, that combines to 0. And then I carry over my like radical. Well, 0 times radical 7 is just 0. All right, if I take a look here, with this example, I notice that both my radicals are unlike. However, I know I can simplify radical 12. I can split that up into the largest perfect square would be 4 times 3. And I'm just going to bring down this radical 3. Now I can take it a step further and simplify this to 2 radical 3 minus 1. There's an imaginary 1 in front of there. Radical 3. So again, combine your coefficients. So 2 minus 1 is 1. And then you're just going to bring over your like radical. So your final answer would be 1 radical 3. Or some people would just say radical 3. Would be your final answer. All right, this one here. So again, they're unlike, so I'm going to simplify. So radical 20 I can simplify into 4 and 5 plus radical 45 I know I can split up into 9 and 5. So this becomes 2 radical 5 plus 3 radical 5. So my final answer when I combine is going to be 5 radical 5. If they're unlike radicals, you do not combine them. You leave them as is. All right. So if you need to, if you'd like to pause these examples, you want to write them down, go right ahead. And then I'll run through the answers. So with this example, I can split up 48 into 16 and 3 minus 2. 108. The largest perfect square is 36 times 3. So I get 5 times 4 radical 3 minus 2 times 6 radical 3. So I get 20 radical 3 minus 12 radical 3. So my final answer would be 8 radical 3. All right, so I'm going to pause the video. Try this one on your own. So for this one, I can split up 27 into 9 and 3. 48, 16 times 3. So I get 4 times 3 radical 3. Then this one simplifies to 4 radical 3. So 12 radical 3 plus 4 radical 3. My final answer would be 16 radical 3. Again, I'm combining my coefficients, or really the only part that I'm either adding or subtracting. Then my radicals, just like a variable when you're adding and subtracting, it just carries through. Any questions? Go ahead and email me. If you're still confused, let's set up a Google Meets and let me know. Have a good day, guys.